This is Left at the Door, a podcast and vlog where we, a group of friends, get together and we talk about the things that we left at the door in order to love, grow, succeed, and survive. And these are our stories, but we also bring guests on. And we're pretty excited because this is kicking off season 2. Yay! Oh, yeah.
Season 2, and it's the 4 of us, the core 4, starting this episode today. We are going to talk about the last year because we are coming up on our anniversary of our first episode. And when this one drops, it'll actually be freshly a new year. But today we're recording on the eve of our first anniversary of our podcast actually going live, which is so cool. I don't know what I expected, but it's been an up and down year, and part of me thought we wouldn't still be doing this.
I agree.
We get excited. See, I get excited and I start things, and then, other shit. You have to do other shit.
Right.
So the things you don't have to do end up maybe not happening. But I think we've all enjoyed this so much that we've made it a priority. And I don't know about you guys, but I've got to meet some pretty cool people that we've had on the show. I wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah. Well, not just even meeting them, but also hearing these stories. Like, I think some people you knew of maybe, or you are like, oh, I know that person's business, or I know that person's kids, or something like that. But then you had no idea like the story behind the person. So I think that was also incredible to be able to connect with them on a completely different level.
And it was very inspirational too. I mean, some of the stories was, really touching and had a lot of sentiments to it. And you learn a lot, but it's just great watching the 4 of us and how long we've come. I think the last time I sat down, actually the first episode I sat down to do, I had a mohawk.
You did?
Yeah.
It was so cute. I loved it.
And not anymore.
And the first day we ever recorded was the day I met Andrea.
Yes, that is true.
I had never met her.
Yes.
And I hadn't met Jessie.
Had we not met either?
Mm-mm.
I feel like I at least knew who you were, though.
I think you guys knew who they were, but you didn't. You had not met.
Never officially met in person. So
and now we're all like 4 besties.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Jessie just did my hair the other day, and it looks so good.
It looks way better than mine. Maybe I should do my own hair.
I saw the grandma version of you at the Gin Mill restaurant.
So she was very sexy and making everyone laugh.
Yes. And she was like in her 60s.
And perfect skin.
Yes. And she had rainbow unicorn hair.
I love it.
I was
queen.
Yes. You could just tell. Like just by her demeanor, you could just tell she was fun.
This bitch is fun.
Yeah.
I meant to bring tinsel with me today. That was the other thing that I was gonna be like, let's put tinsel in each other's hair. We're doing that on our next recording day.
Salem would just eat it. Yeah. Salem is my kitten, for reference. She would just eat it out of my hair.
In one of the episodes that we have recorded recently that we're getting ready to have so much awesome content for you guys in the new year, in 2022, we were discussing how everyone on the podcast, all of us as hosts, have acquired new family members since the quarantine. And it's one of the things that one of the questions I was going to ask is like, what's one of your favorite things that's happened to you in the last 12 months? Ours is a little tiny pet, but she brings me a lot of joy. So I'm going to talk to you about mine, and then we'll let you guys tell them about yours. So I have a turtle. Her name's Choppy. And I was catching tadpoles because that's a thing I do. And I scooped up a big clump of mud at Allerton Park, and in this clump of mud was a handful of tadpoles and a baby turtle.
Oh.
And of course, my kids are like, can we keep her? Can we keep her? And I was like, let's think on this. We've got an elderly dog, and turtles live a really long time. But you've had
turtles before, though.
I have. I know how to take care of turtles.
That's what I was going to say. It's not like it was just like some random thing, because I always think about that. Like, you have had turtles before.
I have. When I was a kid, we had a painted turtle, which is what Choppy is, and his name was Snappy.
Of course it was.
Very creative.
His name was Snappy. And I remember my parents being like, he's not a snapping turtle. So it's like a cool name. And he lived with a box turtle named Hook, who only had one claw on one of his. He'd been in an accident. We rescued him.
He was a rescue turtle.
He was a rescue turtle. He was a box turtle, and Snappy was a painted turtle. So they had a water and land situation happening in there. They cohabitated. But anyway, we got
They
Choppy.
were roommates.
They were roommates.
That's a Vine reference, and they were roommates. Anyway, continue.
And they were roommates, and they shared a worm every now and then. So, Choppy's a carnivore. Every time she'll eat right out of your hand. She's very domesticated.
What does she eat?
You don't want to know. She eats turtle pellets.
Okay.
And if we catch a bug or something in the house, we feed it to her. She loves that. She loves the kill. So a live bug is like a great
But she's
treat
a
for
box
her.
turtle?
No, she's a painted turtle.
Painted turtle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but not a snapping turtle.
Nope. She's a water creature. But so we got a bag of turtle treats, and the turtle treats are river shrimp, mealworms, and crickets. And but yeah, she'll eat right out of your hand. Lately though, she's been going for the finger.
Damn finger.
The damn finger. And I asked Dustin, I said, have you let her bite you yet? He goes, no, I don't want to get a turtle bite. And I was like, she can't break your skin. Just let her bite you. She really wants to do it. He goes, no, what if she gets a taste for blood?
I was
forbidden
joke with you,
fruit.
Jesse, when we go to Allerton, that Choppy's mom is looking for you.
Choppy's mom, I know. Because, man, she was a freshie when I got her. She had to have just been hatched. But she's having a good life. She doesn't have to work for her food.
There you go.
She's a freeloader.
She's a this little turtle.
Fucking freeloader.
Fucking turtle. Yep.
So we have adopted a cat named Bingo, not by choice. It's not a name I prefer to name my cats, but he's such a, I call him mellow yellow because he's so soft and he have the loudest purr. He's a doll and just adore him.
Rescue, or where'd you get him
He's
from?
rescued. All my animals are rescue animal. And I do the Macon County Animal Shelter in Decatur, Illinois. So I've been always a rescue kind of person. That's my biggest thing. But yeah, Bingo is our 2020 COVID baby. That's how you had to say it.
Wait, did you get him in 2020 or 2021?
You know what? I take that back. It's still a COVID baby.
It's still a COVID baby.
Yeah, because we're still in pandemic. So I did get him in 2021. So, but no, I'm just chilling with Bingo for now and plotting my next animal. Not sure which one.
You might hear in this episode Cassie's new acquisition.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
This little thing.
Yeah, I got a puppy, and I said, because I have the two dogs that are 15 years old, so I always am like, okay, once they're gone, life will be so much easier. I don't want them to die. I want them to be eternally. But then I saw on Facebook some family friends, and they had some Bernese Mountain Dog and miniature poodle puppies, and I was like, oh, those are kind of cute, whatever. And I saw them like around November of 2020, and then I saw that there was like a few left, and one of them was named Dennis. And he looked like a Muppet. And he was like, all of the other ones were really sleek, like the Bernese Mountain Dog mom, but he was a fluffy, more poodle looking Muppet. So I feel like whenever I do things like that, it's usually just like I dive into it. Like if I'm not going to like be the kind of person that does a lot of research and whatnot, I'm like, okay, if I want something, I'm just going to do it. And everything aligns. And I really do feel like the universe makes it to where it all shakes itself out.
Yep.
So I see the picture of him and I texted the person and I was like, hey, is Dennis still available? And she's like, yeah, actually, you could come by and look at him tonight. So I picked Jack up from school and I was like, let's go look at this dog. So this was right around Valentine's Day of this year. So we did, like on the spot, bought this dog, and he is the most high energy,
Sweet little
he really is.
baby.
He's just a little Muppet. And I think that, the big dog Gus loves him, and Dennis is obsessed with Gus. They like are best friends. But anyway, it has been a lot of energy for our household that has not been here in a really long time, which I do think you can probably hear it pick up. Like I finally just took his bone away, but like he sits there and like grinds on this like hoof that we got him, and like, so he's good. He chews on toys. It's not like he does chew on my heels though.
Oh no, not the heels.
That's like the one thing. Like, I'm just not a person to buy expensive things. But when it comes to my shoes, like, don't fuck with my shoes. And it's only my shoes. Jack could leave everything out in the entire house and Dennis won't touch it. But when it comes to like, oh,
he's got a foot fetish or something.
does.
I remember your heels, your glitter heels.
Oh, I was
he
so
chewed
mad
on that.
Yeah, Andrea and I went to a Great Gatsby event for Macon County CASA. And it was like this like event gala type thing. And so I laid my outfit out the night before.
Oh no.
And I was like, I didn't want my dress to get all wrinkly. And I had these like rose gold shoes that I had not worn yet. And I woke up in the morning, I get my dress on, blah, blah, blah. And I realized that he has like, he chews the tips of because they're like stilettos. And he chews the tips of the stilettos off. It's unreal.
Denny.
I was so mad. That was the day that I was like, I'm going to post something on Facebook, free to a good home. I'm done.
Getting rid of this dog.
Yeah. So I told Jack that.
Then he looked at you with his little Muppet face.
Yeah. Then I was like, oh, I forgot you're a Muppet. So I guess I'll keep you.
Cassie's a big Muppet fan.
I am the biggest.
What about Sarah?
I got quite a few COVID babies.
Well, let's hear it.
So the first one, so I already have my cat Papaya. First one to come to my home was Wrigley, my dog. He's an Australian Shepherd Pit Bull mix. He is my absolute best friend. I was moving home from Chicago. It was the first time I was ever going to live alone by myself, and I wanted a dog because being a woman alone in the world is hard. So
being a woman in the world is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So my family, we've had Wrigley for 3 years. He's just lived with them. And so they gave him to me. He was causing problems at home because he really likes all the attention and he wasn't getting as much because they have like 4 pets, like 5 pets, I think, and then 3 kids. So he came to my home and ran away in July, came back 5 days later, and we are best pals. We went to North Carolina and South Carolina together. We go everywhere together. So then Salem came along about 2 months later.
Why'd you do Salem? Just because she was black?
So Salem, I always said if I get a black cat, I'm going to name it after Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It was my favorite show from my childhood.
That was like when TV was really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
TV was so good.
TV was so good.
Sister, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch were on every
Boy Meets
morning
World.
while I ate my Pop-Tarts.
Saved by the Bell.
Oh,
That was like, and that was like when I was really little. But ABC Family would play Sister, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch through like when I was in middle school every morning. So I just did that every morning, sat and watched it, ate my Pop-Tarts before school.
Do you guys, so this is off topic and I want to come back to your third baby that you got. Do you guys watch TV in the morning? Because I don't.
neither do I.
And I don't allow
have
Jack.
time.
Oh no.
He is a sloth.
Yep, same with mine.
But I did as a kid. Probably my brother and I could finish a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch in one morning between the two of us. We just sat there and ate like 10 bowls of cereal.
Well, you watch Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, the healthiest little breakfast
I
ever.
think we could do even like an episode on it. I feel like mornings are sacred. Like, I know you guys don't have a luxury because you guys have kids. RP. Godspeed to you guys. But every morning I like wake up, I make myself a cup of coffee.
I think that's
listen
important.
to a podcast. I worship. I read my Bible. I have a morning for myself. Let's set yourself up.
Let's talk about, let's do another episode and talk about our morning routines.
Yes.
And then
Great
you guys
idea.
can share your morning routines with us.
Perfect.
Too.
So let's come back to your third acquisition.
Well, I do have to brag on Salem real quick. She is
Do.
the cutest freaking thing ever. She's the runt of her litter. I was dating a guy at the time. We were over at his family's house, and it was the first time I had ever gone over there. And his mom, they're really just friends, but they're like family to him. So his mom, quote unquote, brought me into this room and she was like, look, I just rescued all these kittens and this one doesn't have a home. And she handed Salem to me and I said, well, now she does. That was the first thing I said. Yep. So her original name was Pup. So that's what,
Oh.
yeah. I still
We're looking at her like you don't have a dog named Dennis.
I mean, that's like, to me, that's like naming a dog Cat.
Yeah. I thought
Chick.
it was cute because she was so scraggly, and I feel like that's a scraggly name.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I call her Beans too. Beans in Salem.
That's another episode, like pets and how none of them get called by their real names.
Nope. Oh, what about children?
Papaya is Pissy Paya.
Pissy
and
Paya.
Bug. But yeah, Wrigley and Salem, best friends. Papaya could not care less. But Wrigley and Salem are just best friends. But before I go on, I just put a deposit down on a puppy, so I'm getting a puppy in April. That's my third COVID baby.
I don't know why you didn't learn from me. Having Dennis, having a puppy, I'm like, oh my gosh. And Jackie,
sure, I'm done with kids.
Right, exactly.
Having a puppy makes me sure.
Oh my gosh, if you weren't sure before.
I just really love animals so much.
So do I.
How is Wrigley gonna feel about it?
Oh, Wrigley will be fine. He'll get over it.
Okay.
He's gonna get his nuts chopped off before we get this dog.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Sawyer May is joining my
I'm excited
family.
for you. It's like that happy aunt thing.
Yeah.
We are excited for you.
I'm nervous but excited.
What kind of dog are you?
Bernese Mountain Dog.
Oh, okay.
And I'm moving before I get this dog. I'm probably gonna live in a house or something because
Right.
studio apartment right now. 2 dogs, 2 cats.
I love how solid your plans are. I'm probably going to live in a house or something.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know what April will bring. But anyway, so our next question was, what was the best thing that happened to you? Favorite thing? And we were just talking about family members. And I got some actual family members that are not furry. I was adopted in July, which was pretty cool. So I have my friends, the Antals. It's my last name now. I met them about 4 years ago in March it'll be, and we've just been best friends ever since. I've been a part of their family, and my real parents are not the greatest, so they took me in, and they loved me as their own, and I think that's just a testament to Jesus' love for us, because I'm a Christian. So it really put a lot of things into perspective for me, but I officially became an Antal in July of 2021. So
those
Congrats.
pictures that you took, we have to post those.
Yes.
The pictures that you guys took on your adoption day are the most adorable thing.
they're outside of the Macon County courthouse, and we have a sign that says, "It's a girl."
That's so
it's
cute.
cute.
And it's 23.
Yeah.
I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary and Joey held me like an actual baby just for the bit, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Very rough.
Okay, Andrew, what
about-
about you? What was the best thing that happened to you?
The best thing I think was Mom and I taking a trip to New York to surprise my grandma for her 90th birthday. No one had a clue that we were coming except for one uncle who we had to make plans to pick us up at the airport or else we'd be stuck. But that was the best feeling, oh my gosh, I could cry about this. It's just
I thought it was a joke at first. You literally made these plans and you're like, Cassie, I think I'm
the night before.
The night before. Cassie,
Like,
I think we're going to go to New York City.
yeah.
And I was
this
like,
was like a last minute decision. I don't know how we pull it off. My mom and I were like, we got to do something. And I'm like, yes, you're right. Let's go. Let's do it. So here we are, like changing our whatever plans we had, changing it all to make it down to New York for my grandma's 90th birthday that she turned 90th. And my aunt, who my grandma's lived with, she had no clue. And I have videos of it, just seeing her come out to greet us because she doesn't know what's going on. And then she's looking like us, like, who is these people? And then she realized that it's me and my mom, and she starts crying and freaking out. And it was just the best feeling. It was just worth it, every moment of it.
okay, so Talia's in kindergarten. Has she met all of those family members
She
before?
has before,
Okay.
but she was a little younger when she met them, so she vaguely have memories of all of them, except for my brother, her Uncle Brad. He's come down quite a bit and visit us, so she knew who he was and whatnot. But it was kind of nice turning 90 is a big, huge milestone.
Oh, yeah.
And the weird, like the craziest thing is Grandma in December 2020, Grandma was diagnosed with COVID and beat it. Mm-hmm. So we all knew what everyone was thinking. She's probably not going to make it. We don't know. But for her to make it to 90 and still going, it's amazing. Let's knock on wood. So I just seen my mom with her family and just being there with them just brings so much joy. And I'm glad Talia was a part of that so she can remember this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mine actually has to do with travel too. I was like, God, all time just blurs together. So I'm like, I don't even know what the last 12 months has entailed. So I scrolled through my pictures on my phone. And And my favorites that I was finding were of us traveling. So in April, we took a road trip out to see my sister in New Jersey. And we didn't do any of that stuff in 2020, really. So it was nice to get a little bit of that back this year. So we saw them. And then I went to Arizona for work. And that was really nice. I'd never been to Arizona before. It's as hot as the surface of the sun. And then, Cassie and I went to Idaho. And that was a magical adventure.
That was so magical.
So fun. We did a spiritual retreat. And that's I never don't want to do it.
The Idaho part of it, there was so much of a debacle for us to even get out there.
Yeah, because we missed flights.
Because us.
We should do an episode on travel mishaps, too.
We should.
Jesus.
I've had some.
We could do a whole series just with me and Cassie's travel mishaps together.
No, it really should be. I remember because of the delay, because of all of that stuff, it reminded me of Wizard of Oz. So we got in that night and it was so late. So it's like the, company came and they picked us up. We got in the rental van. We get to the cabin. Our friend Lisa's there. She had got there early. We're like a smart person. We're like, you stay on the flight. We'll find a way to get to you. But anyway, I remember the next morning waking up, and Lisa had been there all day.
Yep.
And waking up the next morning, getting coffee, and walking outside our front door, and it was literally like
it was the first time we were seeing it in the daylight.
And we had no idea. We were completely surrounded by all these mountains. Oh. It was the most magical.
I was like, I just want to, if this is the only thing that happens today, it was worth the trip.
100%.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then the first thing we come across as we're walking to our first session, there's a freaking Tin Man hanging from the tree next to our cabin.
So many Wizard of Oz.
So many Wizard of Oz things. So I love all of that. But as I'm talking this out and how much I love spiritual retreats, we put on our first retreat.
Yes.
So
that was on my list too.
I've done retreats for work before for my team and stuff. This was the first one that was purely spiritual.
Yeah, it's called Reach Retreat. And Jesse and I finally just got to that point where we're like, we love to travel to go to those places and meet those people, but why can't there be something in Central Illinois?
Yeah. And we had a little if you build it, they will come moment. And sure did. So yeah, the traveling and the retreat, that's my favorite things. What about you, Cass?
I would say travel is a big thing. In the spring, Jack and I went to go see my brother. We had booked this trip to Emerald Isle, and we were going to go to North Carolina because that's where him and his wife live. And it turned out, if I'm being very honest, it turned out to be one of those situations. Everybody that knows me knows I work all the time.
Yeah.
And Jack is older, so he kind of gives me a little bit of grief of Mom, I don't think I've ever been on a vacation that you haven't worked. Okay, now part of that is just the way that it is. Them's the breaks. That's what happens when you're in charge and people rely on you.
Uh-huh.
So he never means it that bad, that poorly. But I told him, I said, let's do this. Let's leave our computers at home. Let's just do it.
And let's spend time on the beach and enjoy the weather.
Yeah, and so we had all these things planned. And he, because of who he is, we had booked to go horseback riding one day, which that in and of itself was just to tease my brother, because when we were little, we went out in Colorado and did horseback riding. And Grant would have relatively been the same age that Jack is now. And Grant swears to God, he was always like, I'll never be able to have kids. That was the worst thing.
Traumatic crotch situation.
Yeah, so traumatic. He thought his nuts were ruined. He does have a child, so everything is good. And
it's definitely his.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's a little baby twin And so we were like, okay. And then Jack and I were going to do four-wheelers one day. And so we had something planned relatively in the time frames that we knew that baby Leo would be napping. But that way then either Grant could go with us or Jackie could go with us, his wife, and whatever. And I'm not kidding you. We didn't know this and they didn't know this, but we get out there and it's tornado season.
And it's raining and cold.
Raining and cold. And we had one day, I rented a house on the beach. And the one day that we arrived, we walked on the beach, picked up all these rocks and shells, and it was freezing cold. And the woman that owned the house told us that. She's like, you picked a really bad time of year. And I was like, well, it's before hurricane season though. She's like, yeah, but before hurricane season is tornado season.
Oh no.
Jeez.
But I will say, my brother and my sister-in-law are homebodies. Leo's a baby at, this stage in the spring and stuff. And Jack is a homebody. But last minute, Jack said, because he's, 12 going on 50. He's like, Mom, it looks like it might rain a couple days. Can we please just bring our computers? That way, then if it's a rainy day, we'll have something. And I was like, you know what? Fine, whatever. I kind of caved. But I told him, I was like, you are not bringing a video game or a phone onto that beach. Well, thank God we did, because we were stuck in that house for like days. So, I mean, it was, but
I
will
remember
say,
texting you. I was like, how's North Carolina? And you're like, this is the worst. I was like,
Yeah.
what? You were so excited about this trip. Oh, you were not happy about it.
was
You're
not.
like, all I'm doing is working. I might as well be in Illinois.
I know.
I was just sitting at home with her dogs.
Yeah. I mean, we even got to the point that we also didn't think that Grant and Jackie were going to be able to come because their dog ate
Right.
diaper rash cream, I
forgot
believe.
about that.
And then Reese had bathroom issues, and Grant's like, I cannot leave her with somebody else. Like, I can't do that.
She's
you know?
having trauma.
Yes. So we didn't even think at this point, we were there for a couple days. We didn't even think Grant and Jackie would make it. So I was like, I called my sister because, you know, that's what you do. And I was like, she's like the fixer and fixes everything. And I was like, I think we're just going to come home. Because it is. It's like I told you, Jess, I was like, we're just sitting in this, you know, vacation home. And by day 2, the tide had rose so high. And I noticed like on the day we arrived, they were like putting these sandbags out. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then like we left, we went and ate at like the country club. We come back and we're like, just because of who we are, we of course made friends with these like 88-year-old people, like all these elderlies that also lived next to where we were. So we like were walking back and chit-chatting with them. And I was like, oh, why is there sandbags all up against the house now? And the guy was like, well, because tide's coming in, like tornadoes are supposed to be this weekend. And I'm like, of course. Of course.
Wonderful.
So when we left for supper, everything was fine. And when by the time we got back, there was like up like basically to our waist, all these sandbags up around the entire like house and the patio. So we had one that first day that we could walk out to the patio. And then after that,
Sandbags.
water. Yeah. I mean, the water was
my
up. It was
gosh.
insane. But I will say, you know how it is, you know how close I am with my siblings, like being able to be with Grant and Jackie and Lee over an extended amount of time was remarkable. But yeah, so I do think travel is a huge part of that. So
We've had times like that too, where we've gone to visit Maggie and Chris in New Jersey and it's as hot as the sun. And we're like, well, looks like we're just having indoor activities.
Yeah.
And their house was built in the 1800s and it's 5 stories when you include like the basement and the attic. It's ridiculous. So it's not efficient. So the air conditioner would be blasting, and we're lucky if we get it below 80.
so
it's like,
No.
So we're not playing. We're taking cold baths today.
Yeah.
And we're sitting and trying to move as little as possible. So
I mean, I could kind of remember vacations where my mom would fill up the tub. And it was like when you said it about cold baths, it was like, and because when you're little, okay.
Well, the nice thing about living where they do on the East Coast, you can order something at 2 a.m. from Amazon and it arrives by 8 a.m. The package is on your porch. So I was like, get an inflatable pool, get a baby pool, something like we've got to have something to sit. Like we just put this in your dining room.
That is amazing. We also, Jack and I did over Memorial Day, we did go to Arizona too. My brother-in-law's family lives out there. So that was always nice. Jaylee went to pharmacy school out there, my sister, and that's where she met Ben and stuff. And I will say that, like, every time we go out there, well, first, we went out to North Carolina, and while we were there, I looked at some investment properties, and I was like, okay, that'll get us closer to Grant. We could pop over there. Because technically, if you think about it, it's an 1.5-hour commute. Because there's a direct flight from Champaign.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I could be back in Illinois in the matter of a couple hours. So like that would be amazing to like just go back and forth between Charlotte. And then after that March trip, I was like, nope. Too much.
It's too much weather.
It's too much weather. My hair was so much humidity. I literally told Jack that we're sitting on the airplane on our way back. And I was like, we can come visit Grant whenever we want, but we will never live here. I will never live here. And he's like, why? I was like, Jack, my hair looks like it looks like I washed it with bacon grease. And then I went outside and I stuck my finger in a light socket, not once, but then 4 times. And it was like just weirdest poof. It looked like cotton candy hair.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward and then Memorial Day weekend, we go out to Arizona and I was like this. Every time I went out to go see my sister whenever she was out there. I was like, this is what I need. I want it hot and I want my hair to be straight. The end.
See, so we have the same hair and the same nose, but I love North Carolina.
You have so much more hair than Cassie does, though.
But we have the same curly problems.
I don't understand,
frizzy
though.
problems.
I feel like yours gets frizzy and it still looks like a style. Mine gets frizzy and people are like, I think maybe she just should shave her head.
So you
No.
didn't. So I went out there in April of 2020 and June of 2020, and that's hurricane season. Terrible time to go out there. If you're going to go in October. That's the best time. And there are no pictures that have survived from when I was there in June. Like none of my hair. There was not, because it looked so terrible. But then when I went out in October and I got
great.
the beach in my hair
Yes.
and everything, that's when it looked good. So I'd also styled it too after the beach. I wore my hair in braids. I was very strategic about it, but
This
I
is the
love
types
North
of stuff.
Carolina.
That's another episode. The things that curly-haired girls have to do that are so polar opposite of anybody
the
else.
shit we have to put up with.
Yep. Things my
Sorry.
sister never thinks about because her hair's straight.
I do.
I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah.
Neither
And
do
I have like
Yeah.
a lot of it's straight, but it curls at the temples. I get little ringlets. But if I was like, I'm gonna wear my hair curly today, my hair'd be like, the fuck you are. Check this shit out.
I have to straighten my hair before I curl it because it's just that bad. I really do want to move out to Wilmington and Asheville someday. Those two cities I love
It's
for different
so
reasons.
gorgeous. Oh, God,
I
yeah.
just want to be a beach bum in Wilmington. But don't know what I'd do with my hair if I did move out there.
You'd
so.
wear a lot of cute, stylish buns.
a lot of
that's what it
stylish
is.
stylish
Yeah,
leave your
braids.
hair long.
Braids, yeah.
Well, it's kind of, I saw a meme the other day and it was kind of a slam and it's not what it was intended to be, but it said like, when you see a realtor's picture and then you see a realtor in real life, and oftentimes like, well, and I think it's different industries too. Sometimes hairstylists are like that too, but you see a picture, like their business card picture, and they look just like
Of course
glamour,
they do.
glamour shots.
No
Who
one's
doesn't?
yeah, I have business cards
Yeah.
with my face on them. I
Yeah.
don't
So
look
it's
like I just got
these
out of
glamour
bed.
shots, and then
Yeah.
in real life.
You versus the guy she tells you about.
That's exactly what it is. But I was kind of laughing when I was out there because the realtor that I talked to out in North Carolina, it was that situation. And she was like, look, she handed me her business card and I was like, oh, great. And I just stared at it for a second.
Who is
Yeah,
this
she
person?
goes, I stopped dyeing my hair blonde because nobody, like, it's few and far between. So she's like, you can see my gray. I'm really sorry. And she's like, and I stopped getting Botox. I was like, I am not judging
No.
at all. I was like, by
Good
all
for
means,
you.
I said, if I could just live on a beach like this, I would do so.
Yep.
So it just cracked me up that it was like a thing.
May your day be filled with giggles. The place to come for cards and gifts. Personalized just for you. Come and try our tasty treats. They will leave you giggling too. Oh, the brightest spot on Merchant Street will leave you happy and complete. May your day be filled with giggles.
Hi, I'm Sarah and I'm the owner of Bad Love Creative Co. I'm a photographer that services both Central Illinois and Chicago areas. This year has been incredibly difficult for me. I've had lots of cancellations due to shutdown. Prairie Commons Business Collective has helped me bring awareness to my clients. The marketing has let people know that I'm still here and I'm taking clients. I'm taking social distancing measures and that is how my photo shoots go. Prairie Commons Business Collective has really helped get more clients and to reach new people. One of the things I love most about Prairie Commons Business Collective is that there's a place for everybody, which is something I value most. It's a community of people of all business types. So whether you're a crafter or a photographer like me, or even a furniture maker, there's a place for you.
Now let's talk about what an unexpected obstacle was for you in 2021.
Oh, I know.
I want to hear Cassie's.
Yeah,
I wish you
I-
guys could see the look on her face.
So at the ripe old age of 37 years old, this motherfucker got shingles.
Oh no! I forgot about shingles.
Yeah. So I've always been notorious for like when I'm in a really stressful environment and I put a lot of stress on myself, that I will get like little fever blisters or something like that. And my secretary at Allerton, my person, Betty, who I'm like super close with, and she was like my right-hand person. Like we tag teamed with weddings and special events. And she always knew, and she would like send me home. She'd be like, you got to go home this weekend. Like, cause I mean, we worked 70, 80 hours at Allerton. And so I constantly had them. Well, anyway, so that was always my trigger of I need to slow down and whatnot. So I woke up one morning and I thought that I had been bit by a spider. And so it's on my like left shoulder blade. And I just kind of put some stuff on it. And then like a day later, it gets bigger. And I was like, great, it's infected. Like I've got infected spider bites. Like how does that even happen? And during that, it was right kind of during the time frame of that trip to North Carolina. So like I started kind of feeling a little crummy when I was out there. Long story short, I take a picture of it like you do and send it to your sister.
Your sister, of course.
And I'm
especially
like,
when your sister's a doctor.
Yeah. So I was like,
learned
a
doctor.
learned doctor. I'm like, hey, I got spider bites. And instantly she's like, Jesus Christ, those are shingles.
You're like, no, I wish it was a spider bite.
I know. At that point, I have never wished for spiders more in my life. And I was like, I'm 37. Like, how does that even happen? You know, I feel like because I have so many, you know, nursing home and assisted living clients that are old people, like that is to me like an old people thing.
The commercials imply that it only happens to the elderly.
It definitely does. And then when I went to the doctor, that was his reaction. I was like, hey, I have shingles. And he's like, I doubt you do. And I was like, maybe not.
Like, check
I
this
hope
shit
I'm
out.
wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. And I showed him. He's like, oh my God, you have shingles. Worst bedside manner. I was like, thanks. That makes me feel really good.
Never been sadder to be right.
I know. And then it started to spread like up my neck. You have to worry like if it spreads to your face. There's like all these different syndromes and shit that can happen when it like gets like to your face or your ear and stuff. Like permanent damage. And I ended up in the emergency room because it spread as if it couldn't get any worse. And so they did this full blood panel. And this is where I guess like the Pollyanna in me is like, this was a huge challenge. But like once I got all that blood work, that has triggered such a change in my lifestyle. Like, because as of like September, I went in like full blown keto and like started doing that because my blood sugar was really high and my thyroid was really wonky. So in a way, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise where it's like, I think people just assumed, and let me just preface this by saying, I really hope that this is my experience. And I hope that this is not triggering for someone else who battles with weight, like struggles with weight or anything like that. But like for me, I know people were like, oh, do you really need to lose weight? And it wasn't about that. Like this whole keto process for me is like, I don't want to be on diabetic medicine.
Yep.
I don't want to be on thyroid medicine. You know, like I don't want this thing. I've always had horrible ovarian cysts. Like I just wanted to try to figure out if the shit that I'm putting into my body is causing,
yes,
you know it is,
you know
causing all of this, you know?
Everything you eat either feeds your wellness or feeds your disease.
It's so true. And I think about that too. And you know, we've always been a family that have owned a gym. You know, fitness is a huge part of our lifestyle. But on the opposite hand of that,
you guys are a family that also eats.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of weight issues, you know, within our family. And, you know, you think about that where you're like, okay, we have as females our annual OBGYN appointment, you know. Well,
this is your reminder if you haven't had yours.
Yes, please go get your girl parts checked out for the love of God.
Go make an appointment with Dr. Holchek.
Mm-hmm. But I think about you look at that weight and every year I put on like a pound or two. In 30 years time, that's a lot of weight. In 10 years time, if you're putting on 2 pounds a year, like, okay, now you're 20 pounds. And I think to myself, like my dad's had his knee replaced. All of this affects everything. And I'm like, I don't want knee replacement in my 50s or 60s. Mm-hmm. Like, so I know for some people it's like an uppity thing. Like, oh, you know, you're doing this keto and stuff like that. And what I hope that like people really take away is like, I think at any stage in your life is a good stage to be like, what the fuck am I doing to my body right now today that is going to make it to where I'm not going to be able to do something with my kids in the future, mm-hmm. or that I'm not going to be able to do something with my grandkids in the future. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's hard to think that long term, but it really we have to have that perspective.
And something people don't talk about is that food is an addiction for a lot of people. And it's a screwed up one because you have to have it to live. It's not like nicotine where you're actually going to be better if you just don't eat or you don't smoke. You can't just not eat. It's not a cold turkey thing. So it requires a lot of self-discipline and self-control. And I heard a speaker once and she said, your whole life is shaped by the relationship that you have with money, the relationship you have with sex, and the relationship you have with food. Like if you have trauma surrounding any of those three things, the way it affects your life is profound.
Another good Jessie tidbit. It really is true.
Yeah.
And think about how many of us are walking around with either one or two or all three of those issues in some way, shape, or form, you know? And I think that they also kind of feed off of each other.
Oh, yeah.
It has really helped me since September, like to just monitor things or notice things. So I do notice that when I have had a really crappy day, that like my instinct, I'm not really one to like I don't just go eat like cookies or something. Like I would never just buy that kind of stuff. So we don't keep that in the house, even before keto. We've never been the kind to keep that stuff in the house because we'll eat it.
Yep.
We don't buy chips because we will eat it. We don't buy cookies and trash because we'll eat it. So I've always been like that. I'm like, we just can't. We can't do that, you know? But there are definitely times when I notice that from an emotional standpoint when I get home and I'm like,
I would eat the shit out of something right now.
yes. You know, I told Jack, I'm like, I could get Butterfinger Blizzard or something.
Something really indulgent with no nutritional value.
So I think it's like, that was a challenge, but I think it's a good thing. To me, it's like a lot of times challenges give you opportunities to fix something or find a solution in something that you've been, you know, sweeping under the rug for a while. And, you know, I think I just kept thinking that like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm fit. I'm active. You know, I work out. It's fine. Well, blood test showed otherwise. So I was like, all right, get your shit together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah?
Heartbreak definitely happened a lot in 2021, and I've been through it before, and we all go through different types of heartbreak at different times, but I actually had like real official public relationships this year, and that was new for me, and it kind of sucked getting past all that. So the first one, it was hard at first, but then I got over it pretty quick, and then the second one was really hard, and I didn't get over it really quick. So but it taught me a lot about myself and taking care of myself, and so it was just one of those things. The second one was we were both too emotionally immature to be together, and that sucked because we really did love each other, but at the end of the day, we just, at this point in our lives, we're not good for each other, and we were just clashing so much. And so that made me reflect and be like, wow, what am I doing wrong in my life? Like, how can I treat people better that I'm closest to? So I started going to therapy. I went on antidepressants for both depression and PMDD, which game changer, let me tell you.
For real.
Good.
Oh my gosh. And
We've talked a lot about PMDD because Jessie, you've talked about that was a game changer for you as well.
100%. And the day that you had that Sarah had her appointment at the doctor, I never get phone calls. I assume if you're calling me, it's an emergency. So just text me. But I see Sarah Easter. You're in my phone as Easter still. Sarah Easter pop up on my phone, and I was like, oh God, something awful's happening. And she's tried everyone else. And I'm her last resort. So I answered it, and she's like, hey, I just left the doctor. I think I have PMDD. Talk to me about that. And I was like, oh, okay, I could do that. Like, cool, get some medicine.
What does it stand for again? Premenstrual
dysmorphia disorder or dysmorphic disorder.
Yeah.
So that has made a huge difference.
Yeah, and I honestly
amazing.
like attribute a lot of PMDD to why my breakup happened with like the second guy. So now that I'm on antidepressants and I can reflect back, I'm like, oh, that affected that relationship a lot. And I wish I could have
fight during that week.
I wish I could explain that. I can't now.
Oh, I have fights too where I'm like with my husband, my sweet patient husband, where I will say, I will get done and I'll be like, I don't know why that made me so mad. And then I check my tracker and I'm like, oh, okay.
There it is.
And he's like, well, I wasn't going to say anything. Well, that's fucking smart because you shouldn't.
Yep. But anyway, after that, I did that. I started working out, and I recently stopped because it was hurting my hips because I'm an old gal, but I'm getting back on it this week. But yeah, I got good grades this semester, the whole 9 yards. So doing pretty good now. I think the heartbreak was unexpected one, but also it was unexpectedly good because it caused me to reflect on like what I need to focus on in life. And yeah.
But you're emotionally mature enough to see that in the situation.
I wish I could go back now and like be like, this is what I actually did wrong and this is what I did to fix it. But I can't. But we all have those things. And,
Yes.
you know, someday maybe those relationships will be healed. And if not, you just make your own peace with it.
And that's not how life works.
Yes.
That's
Right.
The universe gave you these things to teach you something. And now you get to go forward and be better in your next relationship.
Yeah, it's just Maya Angelou. When
Yep.
you know better, do
You
better.
do better. What about you, Andrea? What's your obstacles? So we've got 2 stories of obstacles that became silver linings. So.
Right. And I'm glad Sarah touched up on relationship because my obstacle was about relationship, letting go. And it took for a big event to happen because I think I got mentally drained. I'm going to confess this. I didn't tell anybody this one. I thought I was going to check in myself in the hospital because it got to the point, it took a lot of certain person, a family member. We were always close for years. But then it took a toll on me so bad that it was ripping me apart, ripping my friends apart, ripping my family apart. And I had to decide, you know what? I need to walk away. You might love somebody for years, know them for years. Doesn't mean they have to, if they're affecting you in your life that way, you need to walk away for your mental sake. And I'm doing so much better now.
Well, I think that what you making that choice, also it's better for you, but it makes you a better mom for Talia. You know, you think about like, what are we teaching our kids when we continue with relationships that have no boundaries or relationships that are really toxic? You just think like, okay, your kids are watching that, you know, like other people see that. And I think that's a really remarkable thing.
And the sad part is that was so much drama that even my own family at my house, like my husband, my daughter, we don't have this drama. And then I shouldn't bring that outside drama into my home. I don't need any extra additional stuff on my plate that I already have. It took a long time to see. I think I was feeling guilty. That's why I was holding on. But I think that event woke me up in so many ways.
You were feeling guilty about what specifically?
I feel like I owe them something.
You feel indebted.
I did. And it took me so long to realize I don't owe anybody. And I think one of the big things that happened is the main event is the Reach retreat, and talking to Jess and Cass about it. And you guys opened me to a lot of things. And Cassie, I remember you seen a little bit about the incident. You've seen it in person, and you know, you talked to me about it too. So I'm really glad that I moving forward. And
we noticed a change in you too.
Yeah.
Cassie said, whatever movement Andrea has made, she is now setting boundaries. And we were trying to plan something. Maybe it was for the podcast, and you said, no, I'm unavailable. It was like, it was atypical, but it was like, that's growth.
yeah,
I have learned in life, because I am the queen of boundaries, and I have parents that don't know boundaries, so I had to be the one to put boundaries. And I've learned that sometimes the best way you can love other people is from afar, and sometimes that's just what they need in that point in their life. And that's also the best way that you can love yourself, because in that situation you loved yourself by setting those boundaries and taking care of yourself first.
and I know I'm probably getting a lot of hate from that side and those people, and they probably don't understand. But it's not for them to understand; it's for me to understand.
Yeah.
And
You don't owe them an
I know, and I want to be there for my child, and I can't be mentally unstable if I can't be there for my daughter, and she's my number one priority. And whether or not we can build back that relationship, I can't say yes to that. But what I can say is only time will tell. I'm not forcing it. I just need to be at peace, and I just need them if they can understand that or respect it, they don't need to be a part of my life.
Sometimes I think that it's really hard to be so in the middle of that type of situation because you can't see the forest for the trees.
Yep.
So the other piece to that is that you are right. Like I saw that firsthand, like you going through that with those individuals, and being an outsider. I think it was a moment where I was like, man, I don't really know if I should say anything, even though we're close. I'm like, that's, when it comes to family, or when you know that you have a friend or a family member that is having issues with other family members, or a spouse, maybe it's a toxic marriage or whatever, that's hard to say something, because sometimes it's that saying, don't shoot the messenger,
Yeah. And people don't want to receive that information about others that they truly do love. But sometimes you just need an outside person to go, hey, that's a fucked up way to treat people, right? And you need someone to validate that, like, this feels wrong, but it's always been this way. I don't understand why it suddenly feels wrong, but you need that outside validation. Mm-hmm. There have been lots of times that I've called Cassie and been like, dude, I need to talk to another sane person about this interaction I just had, because I'm feeling a little crazy. And I need someone else to say, you're right, that's nuts, It's
so true. And I think that my friend Coy just did this the other day. He was doing some Christmas shopping at Christmas time. And he was like, okay, so I'm feeling like a real psycho right now. So I'm going to tell you what I did and what I said. And you need to tell me if I was out of line. And I'll go back and apologize if I need to. But like, this is really fucked up. It makes you wonder, like, when we get in those situations, sometimes it's like, are we really second guessing our intuition? Are we really second guessing ourselves? But I hope that whenever we do call each other on those things and we're like, I need some confirmation, it helps to boost our intuition and be like, okay,
absolutely.
I wasn't wrong. This was the right thing to do. That boundary was the right thing to put in place.
Mm-hmm. And I also think in those situations too, sometimes something happens to you and you look around and you're like, am I being punked? And I just need to share that experience with someone, because I should write a book. You know what I mean? I like that we get to do that with each other.
But it's been, guys, ever since I'm dreaming big now. I'm doing well. My family is doing well. And things are on the track. And I'm like, this is where I'm finally, there's a weight lifted off my shoulder. And I'm like, this is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's liberating.
It really is. Jess and I have talked about this cycle before with ourselves or with other people, where we say, whenever bad things are happening, they will like manifest themselves. Like if you don't deal with something, it's going to manifest in some way, shape, or form, whether it's your physical health or something, or like all of a sudden everything around you, your environment is just chaos, all because you're choosing not to deal with the situation. And, I have people like that I know, like right now, that it's like everything at work is just a complete shitstorm at work. And it's like, well, what are you not dedealing with? There's something that you purposefully are choosing not to deal with, or you're not ready to deal with. And it's like it's that saying that everything gets worse before it gets better. And now that you have kindly dealt with that and put those boundaries up, now it's like you can clear that sludge and the nastiness and like all of that low energy and fill it with something that is good and positive and higher vibrations and better people that love you. Yeah. But thank you. But that is a wildly brave thing to like say what you said, Andrea.
Super.
Thank you guys. It that took a lot. I remember when I was going through my divorce with Nathan, I did seek counseling, and one of the things I've learned is you need to admit to yourself first before you can move on. And that's one of the biggest things. And I am so glad that I've met you three, Jesse, Cassie, and Sarah. Sorry, I'm wearing a mask. You guys really have opened up so much to me. I never knew what it's like when you're in that situation. You feel like you're caved in and you don't get to see the beyond. You don't get to see what other relationship is like, because regardless of what, people will play victim, but yet they're bullying you. And they will do anything possible. And when that happens, you're just like a little miniature creature, just waiting just to be free.
What you're describing is depression.
Yeah.
And people who have never in their lives dealt with depression are experiencing it because of the pandemic and the shift that has happened in most people's lives. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up too, is you talking about admitting yourself. And I know a lot of people that have struggled with depression, and I have a really close friend that is struggling hard time right now and going through different medications. And I said to them, what about admitting yourself? And they said, no, that I don't think anyone can understand what I'm going through. And I think that is a really common feeling.
That's like, would you say that's the depression talking?
It's 100% the depression talking, going, this won't help, that won't help, I'm beyond help. And to the point where it was alarming that I was like, well, I know these words. I have felt these words. I have said these words. Now, being someone who's medicated, being like, I can see that that's what this is. But when you're in it, it is really hard. Yeah. And this, if you're listening to this and all of this feels familiar, ask a friend to make you an appointment. Because when you're in it, it's so hard to even go, I'm going to do that for myself. And being on the receiving end of that and having friends where I've said, can you help me with this thing? And being rejected and going, that is so ridiculous, do it yourself. If you are on the receiving end of that request, do that for this person that you love. It might sound stupid. It might not make sense to you, but if someone is brave enough to ask you for help, you have got to listen. And it could be a life and death situation.
Or maybe even offer.
Offer.
Maybe they won't ever get to that point that they say, and
offer 10 times.
Yes.
Offer 20 times. They're going to reject your help.
Also, I think it's important to note that nobody is too far gone and nobody is too far away to receive help. You can always receive help no matter
100%.
where you're at with your depression or anxiety, any sort of mental illness.
And that's something I struggled with. We'll say that's my obstacle. I've been medicated for depression since I was 13, and things with the pandemic shifted at one point, and it was like, I feel unmedicated. I feel like I forgot to take my pill. This isn't working anymore. I'm so much deeper in than this medication is what it's doing for me. And my health has been a real challenge this year, and I don't like to talk about it a lot, but I have an autoimmune disorder, and I went to my rheumatologist for my annual checkup and med check and all that. And he casually said something about your lupus. And I was like, I don't think I have lupus. That's not what it is. And he goes, well, you have Sjogren's syndrome and lupus it's all just one thing. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that makes me feel ways because I know about the things that people with lupus deal with. And I thought, I don't have it that bad. What I have isn't as severe, and And then I get hard on myself because I'm like, why do I need a nap? Why can't I just work? Why can't I just stay awake? Why can't I just have the energy? And it like compounds and contributes to the depression. And then I got this like little validation from my doctor that like, no, you do need to have grace with yourself. You do need to take it easy and listen to your body. And I felt like I was someone who was good at that. But I've stopped feeling bad for not accomplishing things. And I am not a Cassie. I'm not someone who enjoys working, and I do it for pleasure and for punishment. And what I do is just
and everything
work.
in between.
If I'm sad, if I'm happy, I just go work.
Remember we had that conversation. I don't remember what we were talking about. Maybe you either didn't feel good or you couldn't sleep or
I was
something.
sad. I was like, I'm just so sad. And I don't remember why I was sad, but I knew I could talk to Cassie. I was like, I'm just so sad. And she's like, well, you should probably get some work done. And I was like, I think I will. And I did. I was like, why the fuck not?
You said you're like, I was so productive. I was like, see, now you know why I work. Like when I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to sit in my yuck. I don't, and there's times I'll allow it, but I'm like, I don't want to feel yucky. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel depressed. So I'm gonna do something different. Yeah. That's exactly 100% what it is. It's like, I know I'm good at this, and at the end, I'm gonna feel better. It's still gonna be there, but at least I'll have done something, And I think that's why they say, even when it comes to like having an anxiety attack or panic, like do one thing that you can control. So go and make your bed. go and brush your teeth. Do something just to kind of change the narrative of that yuck, you know?
And those self-care things, when you're really depressed, seem pointless and also insurmountable. I couldn't possibly go brush my teeth right now. I can't even lift my arm to change the channel. I struggled with that a lot, I still work on it. It's still something I have to go like, today is a resting day, Jesse. Just go back to bed and don't feel bad about it. I am so fucking lucky to have the partner that I do, because he will say to me, you don't need to sit out here and be miserable. Because I'm like, no, the kids are awake and they're home and he's like, you're not present. You don't feel good. Go lay down. Go take care of yourself. We'll come kiss you goodnight. And he facilitates a lot of that care. He takes such good care of me, and he tries to do what he needs to do to empower me to take care of myself too. And that's a big difference. And that's the jump between being deep in your depression and dealing with it. Like, I don't not have depression issues anymore, but I've been empowered to try to deal with that myself through medication, through having people to talk to, and having a supportive partner and people around me who understand. I mean, there were definitely times in my life when no one that I was friends with understood what that meant to be dealing with depression, let alone to be in it. But silver lining, I have found some other like coping mechanisms, and I've explored a lot more like the correlation between moving my body and what that does. And like we all know, exercise releases endorphins and it helps with the happy feel good hormones, but I fucking hate exercising, so I have to like make myself go do it anyway. But anyway, I've found like some other ways to make those things happen so that I can feel better and not hate every minute that I'm doing it.
See, everyone did have silver lining. It's like we have these challenges, and I think a lot of listeners and viewers at home are feeling that, where probably, if not all of the pieces with each one of us, there's something that resonates with them. And moving through this new year, if nothing else, what we're hoping is that the stories that we bring to you, the episodes, the interviews that we have, and the mom rants or the episodes of the four of us together delving into different topics, that you can understand that we are a group of people that are trying to shed light on things, that we want to be that group of friends that you can say those things to. Instead of, I think we've all had friends or, coworkers or whatnot that you're like, no, I have to just give you this perfect version of my life, and that's the only version you get, and everything is great and everything is sunny and rainbows and unicorns, and that's not the way life works.
No, but that's where people feel safe. So we are just getting you a little outside your comfort zone, maybe.
We're just dangerous.
We are living on the edge.
When I was on my way over here today, I was behind a truck, and so we live in Central Illinois, and it's the land of yeehaws, let me tell you. There are tacky trucks everywhere, and I was behind one that said "bad bitches only" on the back.
And you jumped right in the back of that truck, didn't you?
It's like, what's more fitting on my drive over here?
That's like the 2022 mantra.
Yeah, bad bitches
finish,
only.
Hell yeah. Let's finish this episode and all of us give one word of something we want to manifest in the coming year. I'll go first.
Go.
I know what I want to manifest, and it's wellness. Just everything that word means. That's what I'm bringing to myself for 2022.
I want to manifest prosperity.
Ooh.
I want myself and everyone around me to do well. That's my biggest thing.
I love it.
I want to be closer to God. I want to be more disciplined in studying the Bible and studying my faith and just grow my relationship with God. And I also want to explore myself more, because I think my silver lining was that I explored myself, and I want to explore myself more and be myself more.
I love it.
I'm going to say something really corny, and I'm going to say love, and like whatever form or shape that it takes. I think that maybe I self-sabotage a tad bit. So
Who, you?
maybe.
It's the noses. That's why we both self-sabotage.
These girls.
No.
So I would like to think that I'm going to stop that. And, I think that the last couple years, I will say with COVID, it really kind of kicked off with that, where I was like, okay, things are changing. What do I love? How can I do what I love? How can I help the people that I love? And so I think the continuation, as I've really built up on that on the last 2 years of, the podcast is a part of that. Starting Prairie Commons Business Collective is another piece of the retreat. Yeah, all these things that I'm like, okay, I'm putting myself and developing the things that, I'm pouring myself and pouring love into those things. And then, hopefully it reaches other people or it comes back tenfold or something.
I like it. Tell us what you want to manifest or attract to yourself for the year 2022. And stay tuned for lots of exciting new guests and
So excited about all the people coming on.
and some deep diving and insight, and find out what else is getting left at the door. This has been another episode of Left at the Door.